an amazing line of skin health products. And I have to be honest with you, Lee, only because I'm a bit overwhelmed. So many ways to look better, feel better, unbelievable. I got to admit, I'm a Pentaxil user, and the VitaShield moisturizer, pretty much, that's what it goes for me. But when I started seeing all the other things, and I love the options that at motives.com, you can select either a 3, a 5, or a 7-step process. And I will say this, if you become, and I believe becoming a skincare major and really understanding what we offer, I think you have all the tools, all the products, both outside and inside. I mean, when you put together, think about this. You've got basically your OPC Beauty Blend. You have your Isotonics Women's packets. You also have the Oxygen Extreme, which, by the way, is a fabulous free radical product. I mean, it addresses all 7 of the free radical issues that we face on a daily basis. And then you have basically pure collagen. But I think one of the easiest things that you could probably represent would be the new sculpting cream. When I think about that, every time that we undress, we take a good look at ourselves. And I know anyone that's looking for self-improvement is looking for options. And I think the approach here with some of the science breakthroughs that we're using in our products, and I love the idea that we're taking astaxanthin and applying it into both the gelée and the creme. It's beautiful to really group products to get you to that next level. I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing here, and I'm excited about the trainings available for those individuals. So again, yes, we're focused a lot on wellness, but wellness also includes the organ of skin. And now you've learned more about what we offer. So I'm very excited for you and for me, because what's that mean? They're great BV products, great retail profit products, and constantly regenerating business volume for your organization and ongoing commissions. That's a beautiful thing. Our next speaker, I first heard of him from one of our advisory council members, said this high energy, high profile physician out of the Houston, Texas area is something but as a phenom to get to hear him speak. His energy is so amazing. Then I heard from Dr. Deidre again. Wow, here's an individual with a lot of talent and really has adapted to our form of distribution. Dr. Ed Flores is some superhero, and I don't know if he's going to fly onto your screen today or not. He is triple board certified as a pulmonary, sleep, and internal medicine physician. Got a lot behind him. He's also the director of the respiratory therapy at Lone Star College. Now, I do also want to say that he does have a private practice going on 30 years in Conroe, Texas, and is the critical care physician at the Conroe Regional Medical Center. Does this guy have time for anything in his life? He is a graduate of Rice University. He's also got his University of Texas Medical School at San Antonio and University of Texas Medical School Fellowship. He's an impressive individual, but I love him most because he loves us. He takes the time to educate. This man has been on the front lines helping his community battle the challenges, the health challenges that have come through from February to this day. And we are so grateful for you, Dr. Ed, that you're spending time with me and with the entire field. Everybody, help me welcome Dr. Ed Flores.
Hey, Dennis. Wow, it's great to be here. I'm telling you, Dennis, our company is so awesome. Not only does it provide excellent products, but it also provides us a venue for being safe and being able to disseminate information. And that's one of the things I love to do. I love to teach, and I want to thank you and Dr. D for giving me this opportunity. I'm telling you, the lineup of clinicians and specialists and experts that you have had on this program, spectacular. I've learned from every one of them. And I can't wait to get started, man. I've been in the bullpen. I'm ready to go. So with that, let's get started. My talk on sleep, many people might say, well, sleep just gets in the way and it just takes up time. But in actuality, it's one of the most efficient ways of having health. And not only that, it doesn't cost you anything. So let's get started. And I'd like to just talk a little bit about the FDA. The statements in this presentation have not been cleared by the Food and Drug Administration, and Market America's products are not intended to diagnose, cure, or prevent any disease. Now, we have to understand, especially for unfranchised owners, we're not providing a treatment plan. We're providing a wellness solution. So that's a very important distinction, not only at the consumer level, but also at the FDA level. And we need to be sure to present our business for what it is and not to make any false claims. And so with that being said, I'd like to say many of us feel a little overweight. We might feel sleepless or even in a foul mood and think that none of these things are related to each other. But in fact, they are. It's incredible the effect of sleep on your quality of life. Our sleep affects every part of our daytime and even nighttime life. It can affect our longevity as well. I didn't really understand it as much as I do now, but at one time I became very interested in sleep and it opened up a whole new world. So while heart disease is now the number one killer for both men and women, poor sleep is a very, very common symptom. And in fact, many of my referrals come from cardiologists. The correlation between heart disease and poor quality of sleep is tremendous. Many heart doctors are now part sleep doctors, but mainly they're referring doctors to me with regards to sleep and sleep disorders. Now, sleep is necessary for survival. You cannot live without sleep. In fact, I think the longest someone has ever gone without sleep is 11 days. Now, in my training, I went 72 hours working, and I can tell you, by the time you haven't slept for 72 hours, you start to hallucinate. It is very important for brain function, both in the initial loss of sleep as well as long-term loss of sleep. So it's necessary for a proper nervous system function, and it promotes brain function. If you want to think, you're going to need to sleep. It reduces the breakdown of proteins in our cells. And deep sleep, which is commonly termed N3 sleep, non-REM stage 3, coincides with the release of growth hormone. Growth hormone is very important, not only when you're growing, but also as a full-grown individual. It maintains vitality in our life. What is vitality? I try to explain it as when you look in a dead person's eyes, there's nothing there. It's just an eye. But when you look at somebody who has vitality, that eye shines life back at you. And that's what I'm talking about, living better and living longer. Now, some of you guys, when you look at this picture, you're probably looking at yourself and myself. We're in front of a screen. Human beings are not the only species. Human beings are the only species that seems to put sleep aside. Why? Because we have this false impression that we don't really need it and that it's a waste of time, when in fact, it's one of the most efficient, one of the cheapest things that we can do to maintain good health. So what are the statistics? Well, 1 out of 2 Americans are trying to survive on less sleep, 6 hours. I know during my training I did this, and based on evidence of over 100,000 studies, the number of people that can survive on less than 5 hours of sleep without showing any impairment is 0. And in fact, when you look at how patients and test subjects who go with increasingly limited sleep, the number of wrong answers, whether it's avoiding a dangerous situation, whether it's making wrong choices, whether it's driving simulators, it skyrockets as you get to 5 or less hours of sleep. What does this mean? It means that you're not safe and no one around you is safe based on the decisions that you're making. So sleep, most human body functions and behaviors, they're not steady state. That means that they're not the same 24 hours a day. They tend to fluctuate in 24-hour cycles, the sleep and the wake cycle. And these fluctuations can be manifested by changes in body temperature, hunger, and secretion of various hormones. All of this changes as we go through our day and as we go through our night. Those changes are cues to what is appropriate behavior for your well-being. And so these rhythms temper a wide range of physiologic processes, including the body's production of hormones that regulate sleep, hunger, and metabolism. That's right, Dennis. I said these hormones regulate sleep. They also regulate hunger, and they regulate metabolism. What if these hormones are not in synchrony with your well-being? What if these hormones are lacking? What if these hormones are out of balance? Well, I think then your sleep is going to be out of balance. Your hunger levels are going to be out of balance, and your metabolism is going to be altered. What happens if your metabolism is altered? You don't live as good and as vibrant a life with vitality in your eye. You're just barely surviving. And all of this influences body weight, physical and mental performance, and susceptibility to illness. What am I saying? Sleep has a direct correlation with how well you can perform. And who doesn't want to perform at their best? It has a direct correlation with your mental performances at all levels, from decision making to what are you going to have? Are you going to have a donut? Or are you going to go out for some vegetarian food, for a vegetarian meal? You know, are you going to have pizza or are you going to have a salad? All of these things can be manifested in that way. And so the problem is huge, Dennis. I said huge. I know you're talking about a 360-pound linebacker. I'm talking bigger than that. I'm talking about a far-reaching problem where even a few days of impaired sleep, particularly the loss of slow-wave sleep. Slow-wave sleep is, again, non-REM stage 3, which is deep sleep, and that has been shown to derange your metabolism. You don't have to go days and days and days. Just a few days of altering your sleep patterns and limiting your sleep can result in catastrophic changes for your metabolism, your wellness, your immunity, your mood, and your vitality. Now, you know what? I'm going to wait till I'm Dr. Ed's age to start something. Please don't do that. What I would have given to have started at an earlier date. Why? Because the decline in deep slow wave sleep, which is what we've been talking, non-REM stage 3, it begins much earlier in life than most people would expect. Certainly before I didn't know it at that age, that losses can occur even at late 20s. You start to lose your N3 sleep. That N3 sleep is so tied to many hormones, in particular growth hormone release. And if you're losing that, then a lot of your avenues towards wellness become limited. And by the time you reach 50, which I'm already past, they're roughly half of their deep sleep. And by the time they're 80, no, Dennis, I'm not 80 yet, deep sleep brainwaves are almost undetectable. What? That's right. Now, we've seen through multiple speakers how the aging process tends to deteriorate particular functions, whether it's digestive enzymes or whether it's knee and joint health or whether it's cognitive ability. All of our functions tend to decrease with aging. That's why supplementation becomes so important, because if you think that you're going to eat right your way to health, it's not true. You're still doing all the negative things, but the diet that we are consuming and the choices that we even have available are insufficient to maintain a long and fruitful life. That's why supplements are so important, and our products are the absolute best. There's no, hands down, they're the absolute best. I know, I try to tear them apart. So poor sleep and poor metabolism, sleeping less than 7 hours per night. Get it, 7 hours per night. I know many of you aren't doing that. It results in increased inflammation with an elevated C-reactive protein. What? An elevated C-reactive protein? Oh my God, the sky is falling. Yeah, the sky is falling, because if your C-reactive protein is elevated, you have 3 times the risk of a cardiac event. Who wants to have a cardiac event? Everybody raise your hands. No, nobody wants to have a cardiac event. That's why when you go to the cardiologist, they check a C-reactive protein so that if your story's not that good, they may want to do more in your evaluation to find out if you have coronary artery disease. Blood sugar issues can be affected by not sleeping. Loss of muscle mass, a lower sex drive, excess weight around the hips and the middle, and increased hunger hormone, ghrelin. That increases. So when you don't sleep, and I know I spent many a sleepless night, the next morning I say, oh, just give me some bread. Just give me something sweet. I'm not interested in something healthy. I need something good to give me some sugar, some energy. Well, that's what ghrelin does to you. That's what the lack of sleep does to you. You make poor decisions. So there's some basic principles. Our sleep quality is shaped on how we spend our day. What you do during the daytime affects what you do at night, what happens at night, what you do physically, what you do emotionally, and what you do spiritually. All of that has direct manifestations in the quality of your sleep. And humans are diurnal. That means we have different phases during the day and night. We don't have sleep problems. We have problems with sleep-wake cycle. And humans are very sensitive to endocrine fluctuations. Endocrine is hormones, how one cell speaks to another cell through a messenger. Those are called hormones. So when I look at this picture, it makes me want to laugh, Dennis. Look at that on the top left hand. I mean, freaking, that's just about every couple. Hey, before I go to bed, I'm going to check my emails. Hey, what's going on Twitter? And let's go ahead and check the news cycle and see what's going on, because I know they got something new. Well, what you see is that. What I see is that these individuals have a light shining on the back of their retina. Their retinal ganglion cells send a message through the retinal hypothalamic tract to the hypothalamus, a place called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. That suprachiasmatic nucleus is your circadian rhythm. It's your clock. It is the major clock in your brain. And this picture on the top left, they are telling their clock it's time to stay awake. In the top right, you see kids jumping up and down. What I see is that they're increasing their body temperature. By increasing their body temperature, it tells their brain it's time to wake up. Or on the bottom left, lights. You know, you drive down the neighborhood and they got the whole house is lit up at 9 o'clock at night. All of those direct lighting goes right into their retina, right over to their suprachiasmatic nucleus, and that suprachiasmatic nucleus is saying, hey, it's still daytime. So what does it do? It doesn't inhibit the superior cervical ganglion, which speaks to the pineal gland, which secretes melatonin. So melatonin is inhibited from being released because of you got all the lights on. By 6 o'clock, we're turning off our lights and we're using indirect lighting. Caffeine, we're going to talk about that. Here's our kids on the bottom right. Man, they can't get enough of that monitor. And then you can't get them to sleep. If you don't sleep enough at night, your body boosts its level of stress hormone. That's cortisol, deadly for your brain. Even a few days of impaired sleep, particularly loss of slow wave sleep, that's N3, non-REM stage 3, has been shown to derange metabolism. We're going to talk a little more about that. But look at her. She's falling asleep during the daytime. She's all stressed out. She's eating the wrong foods. She's got more things on her plate than she knows what to do. And she's gone to the very end and collapsed into that pile of clothes. So don't wait to do something. This slide is so important. I wanted to keep it in there again. How very early in your life, you're already starting on the pathway to poor sleep. So let's talk about caffeine. Well, honestly, I tell my patients you should not have a cup of coffee after noon because caffeine has a half-life of 6 to 7 hours and it's still around at 12 hours at night. Meaning if you drank a cup of coffee at noon, at midnight, you still have caffeine in your system. And if you have a cup of coffee around noon, 1/4 of that is still hanging around. Now, caffeine is thermogenic. We talked about it. When you go to sleep, your body temperature drops. If you do something that creates heat, caffeine, it tells your body and your brain you're still awake. And caffeine increases that body temperature, which is just going to make you more alert. Now, we have a sleep pressure, which means that throughout the day, your indication or your predisposition to falling asleep increases. Well, the reason that increased pressure to sleep is from something called adenosine. And adenosine is one of the building blocks of RNA. Now, adenosine gets into the brain and it's an inhibitory neuromodulator. So in that way, adenosine actually, when it gets up to a high level, facilitates sleep. But caffeine inhibits adenosine's entry into the brain to do this. So by using caffeine, particularly later in the day, you're working against the natural mechanisms to encourage sleep. Now, there's also the issue of hyperstimulation. You can read this for yourself. It's all bad news. It's all about how we are using more and more digital media. Now, is that all bad? No, I think our kids are the smartest generation ever. I mean, they are so freaking smart. Why? I honestly believe it's because of the digital media. But we have to balance that with daytime, nighttime sleep cycles, because sleep is very important for learning, very important for mood, very important for understanding the world around us and being able to function in it in the highest capability. So did you know there's also another neurotransmitter? It's called norepinephrine. And it's a very strong excitatory hormone, and it keeps our brain alert. It's very involved with fight or flight. In other words, if somebody tries to hurt you or somebody scares you, you put out norepinephrine. And this norepinephrine is very good for keeping you focused and awake. Unfortunately, it's also good for raising your blood pressure. And there's another hormone called serotonin, which this serotonin is not only a hormone, but it's also a neurotransmitter. And it's associated with healthy mood and helps us and perception of our world around us, and also helps us to relax. Serotonin, we're going to talk more about it because it is integral with all of what we've talked about, and also integral with melatonin. And our goal as we go forward, we've talked about diet. Our goal should be to consume the foods and the supplements to change the balance of all of these signals. So we want to encourage a balanced human body. And our body knows how to do it. It's just, Dennis, we're just too busy doing all the wrong things. Staying up late, not sleeping, not eating right, smoking and drinking. I have nothing against alcohol. I'm just going to tell you right now, I give Norma as much to drink as possible, my wife. We'll get along much better that way. But alcohol, none for me. So it's important to sync our cell's clock. We talked about the suprachiasmatic nucleus, and every one of the hormones, brain chemicals and their cofactors, they need to be in a balance for our cells' individual clocks to run on time and in sync. Why are our clocks important? Because our clocks dictate when to produce the right hormones and the right setting for sleep to occur. Hunger hormones. Well, they increase. There's an increase in your hunger hormone, ghrelin, which comes from your intestinal tract, and it suppresses leptin, which is the feel full hormone, which comes from our fat cells. Getting a poor night's sleep means that leptin levels will be even lower. The signals to not eat are less when you don't sleep. You don't sleep, you tend to overeat. You actually lose weight when you sleep. I love that. Those that do not sleep well become progressively less and less leptin sensitive. Leptin is our friend. Blood sugar. Chronic elevated glucose increases our risk of metabolic derangement. Would you be surprised to find out it may affect brain volume? So a lot of things affect brain volume. There have been multiple studies. As we mature, our brain gets smaller. The higher our sugar level, the smaller our brain. The more our weight, the smaller our brain. the less omegas we take, the smaller our brain. I don't know about you, Dennis, but I want a big brain. Now, even high normal fasting glucose is linked to losses in volume. What? You want to talk about melatonin? Oh, I can get some melatonin over the counter. Well, that's great. Melatonin. So you've heard that melatonin regulates sleep. Yes. We spoke about it, that it's released by the pineal gland. That pineal gland is dictated to by your main clock, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, remember. But did you know that it also, did you also know it influences stress hormones? Melatonin can influence stress hormones and blood glucose. So the loss of deep sleep, which we said N3, impacts blood sugar, making overeating and late snacking a bigger issue. But melatonin can also affect that with a correction. Melatonin has antioxidant properties and is known to support normal function of inflammation and the immune system. So melatonin has the effect of being an antioxidant in the brain, and our body can make that. It can affect a lot of free radical formation, and it can also affect how the structural integrity of the brain, which holds up the nerves and allows the nerves to build on, it can affect how those are taken apart or broken down inappropriately. Melatonin, very important for brain structure. So what are our goals? Well, everyone wants to be more alert, and everyone wants to have a feeling of being rested in the morning. And they want to improve habits that are sleep promoting. We want to do that. And we want to decrease the frustration surrounding sleep. I can't tell you how many patients come in and they tell me that they're tired all the time, that they're sleepy during the daytime, that they don't feel rested. These are all the questions I ask. But yet the habits that they have to promote sleep are off the charts. They're all wrong. And not only that, they'll lay in bed wondering if they're going to ever go to sleep and then get frustrated. And because of their frustration, can't fall asleep. We have to understand how our sleep changes as we mature. Our sleep, we actually decrease our sleep quantity as we mature. But the one thing that we don't do is have a routine. Everybody wants to go out and party till late at night and then wonder why they're not feeling good the next day. Or everyone wants to do something spectacular on the 2 days that they're off, and the next 5 days they're suffering. Certainly the next 2 days after they've been off, because they've gotten out of their normal routine. That routine provides the stimulus and the circuitry and the neuroplasticity, the creation of connections for quality sleep. So turn both the lights and the temperature down. Some people say that your room temperature should be 57 degrees. My wife would be so happy. No, that is way too cold. But it should be cool in your sleep. There are sheets and pillowcases that serve to also keep the temperature down, and those you would consider. You want to be cool when you lay down in bed because that actually reduces sleep fragmentation. Here we go again. So blue light, it prevents the body temperature from dropping during the night. A gradually lowering body temperature is one of the key elements of how we go to sleep. Our temperature drops, and before we wake up, our temperature starts to go up. It happens prior. But when you use blue light, you suppress melatonin for twice as long as any other light wavelength. So you want to try to stay away from blue light, and in particular, electronic devices. Deep breathing. Wow, this is such an incredible and interesting field. I can't tell you how excited I am. But deep breathing has many positive effects on the body, maintains healthy cortisol level, supports a healthy blood pressure, promotes a balance in response to physical and mental stress. You know, how many times have we heard, hey, please, just take a few deep breaths, will you? How much truth is in that? Taking deep breaths can affect your blood pressure. Taking deep breaths can affect your cortisol levels, can affect the stress on your brain, can affect cognitive decline. This is a brand new field, and there are a lot of different ways to do deep breathing. You can look them up, but when controlled breathing is part of a daily regimen, individuals can see a meaningful change in their immune system and its response. What, you can actually be healthier? So once all of those issues have been dealt with, then there's supplementation. And there is a better way. How do you optimize sleep naturally? You optimize your sleep rhythm, which we talked about, having a schedule, targeted diet, you decrease inflammation. All of the bad is bad and all of the good is good. And it increases select amino acids, particularly essential amino acids, one of which is tryptophan. Reduce oxidative stress and mitochondrial decline. I think the previous speaker spoke about this. And restore fitness for blood glucose and metabolic maintenance. But most importantly, recovery, protecting the brain from metabolic decline and physiologic stress. We talked a little bit about G-lymph, or G-lymph, which is a lymphatic system of the brain. It functions primarily during the night. So it takes toxic products of metabolism away during the night while you're asleep. When you're asleep, I should say. And it also provides nutrients for the brain. All of that happens while you're asleep. Yeah, I think it's a great idea to not sleep. No, you need your sleep, and it's a great investment in mental health. And so to achieve this natural sleep, the goal is to augment all the natural neurotransmitters which produce sleep and normalize the circadian rhythm. So magnesium. Many speakers have spoken about magnesium, but one of the things that I really like about magnesium is that it actually decreases stress hormone entry into the brain. Taking magnesium, which 75% of Americans are deficient, allows you to keep stress hormones from going into the brain. And what's more, it increases brain-derived neurotrophic factor. We talked a little bit, the previous speaker spoke about that. And brain-derived neurotrophic factor is so incredible because it's involved in learning, it's involved in memory, and it's involved in neuroplasticity, creating new connections, and neurogenesis, growing new brain cells. Wow, who doesn't want that? Well, let's get back. Magnesium supports the cellular pathways for the body to use properly for the building blocks for other neurotransmitters. And magnesium supplementation is integral in the sleep process. So magnesium helps so that your body can get back to work on the production of melatonin. Certain forms, like citrates and glycinates, are considered some of the best sources due to their gentleness on the stomach and their high absorption potential. Wow, isn't that incredible, Dennis? Dennis, I'm speaking to you. These two forms of magnesium happen to be the two forms that Isotonics, Nutrimetrics put into their product. Only the best is in our product over and over again. And so it provides the body with about 400 milligrams of magnesium, which replete the magnesium and its nutritional depletion. It supports muscle health. Magnesium is very important in relaxation of muscles. It supports a healthy cardiovascular system. You know, it decreases cardiac events. What? It also can limit the amount of injury that can occur through cardiac events. I'm surprised at the cardiac benefits from just plain magnesium. It promotes bone health, it's highly bioavailable, and it's a vegetarian product for people who try to eat healthy. Okay, now the fun stuff. So we're going to talk about serotonin. Remember serotonin, which is the synthesis of which is heavily dependent on the availability of tryptophan. Tryptophan is one of those essential amino acids that I spoke to you about. You can't make it, you have to absorb it. And tryptophan is a precursor for both serotonin, the feel-good hormone, and melatonin, the go-to-sleep hormone. So melatonin levels decline as we age. Of course, serotonin levels decline as we age. Yeah, haven't you heard of the grumpy old man? Serotonin. Serotonin support a healthy mood. Man, I want more serotonin. My wife and I get along better when my serotonin levels are elevated. And melatonin is a potent antioxidant. We spoke about that. And we can see on the left-hand portion of the slide how L-tryptophan goes to 5-hydroxytryptophan, which goes to serotonin, which goes to 5-hydroxyindoleacetic acid. And L-tryptophan, we said, is an essential amino acid, and it is a calming effect between brain cells. And it induces sleep at night and relaxation during the day. With this COVID issue, I need more relaxation. I'm a bundle of nerves in the ICU. So vitamin B6, which is pyridoxine, and vitamin C are both necessary for the creation of serotonin. An adequate level of B3, which is niacin, vitamin B6, pyridoxine, and B12 assist in the conversion process that produces melatonin. This slide is very important because Market America could just market a product, but instead what they do is they give you all the building blocks of what you need to create melatonin. I said it gives you all of the building blocks. It allows your body's internal computer to decide, and your body's time clock based on your own time clock, not somebody else's, not what's more convenient for industry, but on yours, to have everything ready for when it says it's time to make melatonin. So the amino acid tryptophan has been beneficial in many, many ways, and it's been shown to help sleep complaints, especially improving sleep quality by increasing REM sleep. That's the deepest of sleep. And in fact, that's where many of our dreams occur. But we should note that tryptophan in and of itself has some sleep promoting properties that are separate from its creation of serotonin. And it may support a healthy appetite and cravings, which are associated with poor sleep. So it may be helpful in fragmented sleep. So fragmented sleep is as you get older, you tend to wake up throughout the night. And so those episodes can really affect how the regenerating capacity of sleep functions. And it improves your mood. So with that being said, let's talk about Isotonics Essentials Turn Down. Turn Down was formulated to meet 3 areas of sleep quality. What an incredible product. Reduction in time to sleep. What does that mean? You go to sleep quicker. Improved sleep duration, meaning you can sleep for a longer period of time, and that longer period of time supports a restorative sleep. I'm not talking about taking a Valium. I'm not talking about taking some Fiorinol that you have for your headaches. I'm not talking about taking some Ambien. I'm talking about a natural provision of the building blocks so that your body knows knows that it has everything it needs to create the hormones that you need to fall asleep at the right time that's right for you. Incredible. So here we see another representation of L-tryptophan to serotonin, and you can see that what's important, B3, B6, zinc, calcium, magnesium. Magnesium, why do I want to take magnesium? Because it'll help you sleep better. It's not just taking melatonin. It's taking all the other things that it takes to create melatonin. And competitor products, which is what I've been alluding to, they may not contain everything that it needs.